and welcome to Creators for Creators. I am Amber Kelly, the Director of Community and Support for Autotroph, and today I am going to be talking with Richard and Zach of TrueVFX. They are the creators of True Sky and True Terrain, and most recently True Vault, just to mention a few. And I'm really excited to get to know more about Richard and Zach themselves, TrueVFX, and their little corner of the Blender community. And then if you stick around to the end, we're also going to hear which products from other creators that they personally use and would recommend. So thank you for joining us for Creators, and welcome, Richard and Zach. Can you first introduce yourselves or introduce each other if you want, so we know who's who and a little bit about you?
Yeah, okay. So I'm Richard. I think, oh goodness me, when did I start with Blender? It must have been 2018, I think, is when I launched the first product on Blender Market at the time, now Superhive. And since then, it's just been sort of 7 years of development time. I met Zach in 2020, yeah, through a Blender artist post asking if someone could do some work for like $20. And this fool messaged me back and was like, yeah, I can probably do that. And then that's how it happened. That's how we are now, TrueVFX. Because one bumbling idiot thought he could make an add-on and another bumbling idiot thought he could do it for $20.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we like Richard said, we met in 2020. Oh, I'm Zach, by the way. And I had begun to kind of learn the Blender API for my own work. I had a job before this and learned it to kind of speed things up on my own workflow. And then my wife and I got pregnant. And my wife said to me, look, if I am going to stay home and take care of this child, you have to be making more money. And I said, yes, ma'am. And so we found, I just so happened to find a job listing effectively saying, yeah, I just need someone to put a slap of UI on top of this, which is what I was doing in my own time anyways for my own stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty easy. And we kind of did it. It took forever for Richard to get me any files. So he kept sending me just like drawings of the UI. I'm like, that's fantastic, but that doesn't actually do anything. So I actually need give me the nodes that you want me to put stuff on top of here. And it took me months for him to do that, but we got it out and it blew up. And that was True Terrain 3.0. And we both had jobs at that time, but then over the course of COVID, we then didn't have jobs. And we decided to this is actually going pretty good. We had also released True Space at that time. And we're looking at a couple updates to True Terrain and I think Nodescapes, which is now kind of a deader product, but we have plans for it. It's a whole thing. And so we said, let's go full in on this. And True Terrain 4 was what came out of that, going full time. Yeah. And it's kind of just gone crazy from there.
Yeah.
What were the other jobs that you had when you first started building True Terrain for $20?
Richard, you were in banking.
I was in banking, yeah. So I worked in a bank, and I'd been there for 11 years, 10 years, something around that. And I was doing, my goodness, what job was I doing at the time in the bank? I'd done multiple different, I was basically going through different departments in the bank to see what I fit into most and what I wanted to do most. So I'd done some back end stuff. Then we started doing website work. Then I was working on the mobile banking app. Then I did some contract work with customer service stuff. And then COVID kicked off and it was a whole work from home thing happened. But we were technically key workers or something like that at the time. So we still had to go into work. And everyone just kept getting ill. And then they offered redundancies because there were too many staff or something along those lines. It was costing them too much to keep running staff in with the buildings that they had because there wasn't enough people in the buildings. So they started making redundancies. And at that time, True Terrain 3 had sort of kicked off. And I looked at my wife and I said to her, should I just quit? Should I take the redundancy? Because I had 10 years worth of redundancy under my belt. So it was basically a year's full salary.
I was going to ask, what is redundancy?
Oh, it's so redundancy would be, what would you call it in America? It's where the company, they don't fire you, but they can't no longer employ you. So they have to let you go for cost cutting.
So it's like layoff.
Layoff.
Layoff. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So they were laying me off. but they weren't actually gonna lay me off because I'd been there for a long time and they wanted to keep me, but I just wanted to leave. So I said to them, please make me leave or I will
Please
just no
make
longer
me
come back in.
redundant.
Yeah. And they said, okay, goodbye. And then I sat at home with no job and I was like, I need to make this work now. So that's kind of what happened. And Zach, you were in like a medical thing, right?
Yeah, mine was another startup, a local one by a doctor who our product was 3D digital interactive models for lawyers and the clients to take into court in order to show off injuries. And so we would take in CAT scans, MRI scans, x-rays, and we would make these 3D digital, like we use Unity. So it was a game engine. So you could actually zoom in, zoom out, rotate around, remove pieces of anatomy and show the injury pre-operation, well, like post-operation. So I had all the metal or whatever they put in there. And then his work in the field also helped show 20 years in the future, a best case, worst case scenario for many of these things. It's pretty, the stuff that we were showing was pretty documented and known what would happen. And so we could have these side by side and lawyers would take this. Honestly, the biggest problem we had was actually getting into court. So for a long time, people kept asking us, is it court like can we kind of show it in court? Has it been court approved? And we, so many times when our stuff was used, it never made it past, I forget what now it's called, but just deliberations, like pre-meetings. They basically just settled outside of court as soon as they brought in our stuff, which was kind of cool. And we were doing really good, but then COVID hit and all the courts shut down and therefore no lawyers needed anything. So lawyers kind of weren't buying stuff. It was unfortunate, but it was what it was. And so in March of 21, that's when we actually closed our doors and I started full time working on this. But I've been doing it in free time after work and whatnot. And then we did it full time. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
What an interesting use of 3D. There's so many
Yeah.
use cases that have never crossed my mind, but that makes a ton of sense. And you were in Unity at that time. So had you used Blender prior to combining forces with Richard?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've been using Blender since 2008. So in my sophomore year of high school, a friend had posted something on Facebook and the next day I saw him, I said, how did you make that? Cause like in my mind, there was Shrek and there was Pixar and, I guess that'd be Universal Studios and Pixar and like Disney and stuff like that. But that was there. You had to have like special programs or thousands of dollars a program. But then he posted, I was like, is this guy's dad in the business? Or I was really interested, like, how do you make this? He said, oh, it's a free software. I just downloaded from the internet called Blender. I was like, what? And so I went home that day and downloaded it. And I honestly, it just became my hobby. I would literally just sit for hours after school trying to figure it out and get Blender rendered to do what I wanted it to do. And where the heck did all my models just go? Did I press X? I don't think so. Just trying to figure out, especially Blender at that time, was not nearly as user friendly as it is
It was
now.
bad.
When
It was
everything was
bad.
hidden in a menu or not even in a menu, you had to use the space bar to search for it. And but I fell in love. Like even despite it, it was so cool, and I just made so many things. I was so proud of it. And look back now, and you're like, well, that was a good try. I tried. Yeah. And so I've been using it for a while and then went to actually animation school at a local college. And I learned they were using Lightwave and I used Lightwave in the classes I was supposed to. And then I switched back to Blender as soon as they let me to. But yeah,
Nice.
so I've been doing it for quite a while.
I hope
And
you
I
have
used it through that job and then you moved it back into Unity through that.
got it. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. And Richard, where did your journey with Blender begin?
So I knew about it when I was younger because I was a very naughty kid in school. I used to never listen in class and I'd get caught especially in like IT classes when we should be like learning how to do JavaScript or HTML at the time. I'd be sat in Media Flash animating stuff and my teacher would be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I don't know. So animating became something for me early on in life. I must have been like maybe 11 or 12. And then as I grew older, I found out about Blender maybe when I was like 15. Goodness, that's so long ago. Yeah. It was so intimidating to me at the time that I just like barely ever used it because I just wanted to make stick figures going crazy. So Flash was perfect for me. And then I dabbled with it again a little bit later. And then when I went to university, I was 20, I think. I took an animation course, and the animation course was like a brand new course to do during this university. So they didn't really know what they were doing to some degree. It was kind of like, this is the curriculum. Let's see what we can do. And they were using Maya and Cinema 4D. And the licenses in the university were free, but you had to use the university computers. And at the time I had 2 jobs. So I was working at the time in the bank and also in a bar. And I didn't have time to go to university all the time. So I needed a way to do it at home. And I couldn't afford the Maya license or the Cinema 4D license. So I just used Blender, and nobody noticed I was using Blender because at the time Cycles was really good. It's pretty much on par with the V-Ray and whatever else the other render engine was. It was only in my 3rd year that my tutors found out that I was using Blender, and it was against the curriculum, but I was 3 years in, so they couldn't do anything. They were just like, whatever, it's fine. Yeah, and I think like maybe I started on like 2.6 something when I started university, and it ended when I was 2.8. So we got some really nice like Cycles updates through that 3 years, which was amazing. But yeah, that was when I fully invested into it. And True Terrain actually happened because my 3rd year's final project, I wanted to animate this like huge sci-fi short, and I needed shots for Mars and Earth. So I came up with procedural ways to generate the terrains quickly to just throw into scenes that I could quickly bash out. And that's how True Terrain happened. And there's still technically, if Blend Swap is still online, there is still technically True Terrain 1.0 available on there for free as a generator for like 2.79, Blender 2.79. So if anyone wants to grab a free copy of a 10-year-old version.
And open up 2.79 to use it.
Yeah. It was very rudimentary, but it worked.
How many iterations has it gone through now? You're on True Terrain 5? 4?
Yeah, major versions 5,
yeah.
yeah. So we've done 5 major versions, but it's been many minor versions and bug fixes in that 6 years or 7 years, whatever it is.
Amazing. Your description on your shop is really interesting to me. On your shop page is an idea is all it takes. I'm really curious about where that comes from and what it means to you and why it's your shop description.
So for me, I think it came from a couple of things. It was like originally, obviously, when I was in university trying to get things done, I didn't have a lot of time, but I was constantly coming up with ideas. I'm very imaginative, so I just wanted to get them down. And then throughout the course of like building the product, I had this just reminder that like we are where we are now because of just an idea, just one idea that I had back in 2016 when I was stuck making scenes for this animation and I didn't know how to do it in the time I had available. Just this one idea built up through everything that we've done to True Terrain 3, True Sky, all of the other products that we worked on. Even just like the idea of messaging on Blender Nation and saying, look, I need someone to give me a hand. And Zach having to say, like, okay, this is the idea. That's how we got to where we are. So, and I think it's apt as well for like the Blender ecosystem too, because with it being open source, anyone can do anything they want with it as long as they have an idea.
I love that. That's great. And I got to meet the two of you 4 years ago at BCON in Amsterdam.
Oh man, has
It
it
was a
already
long
been
time
4
ago.
years?
Was that the first time the two of you had met in person, or had you
Yep.
met? It was.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that like?
Richard's a lot taller than he seems.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. I never tell anyone because people don't believe it. So I just never tell people how tall I am whenever it comes up. And then I seen Zach and I was like, oh, you're taller than I expected too. So the two of us were taller than we expected, which was nice. But yeah, that was the first time we ever met. But we'd been working with each other for 2 years at that point. So it didn't feel weird meeting each other. It was just like, this is my guy. Like, that was it. We literally saw each other, walked up to each other, shook hands, gave each other a hug, and it just felt normal.
Yeah. Yeah. We stay on a chat or a call most days anyways, just talking to each other.
Yeah.
And so, and it was just, it was a flesh body instead of a digital body there now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you just have a video chat running constantly throughout the workday?
pretty
Yeah,
much.
we use Discord for our user help stuff, and so we kind of have it always up and ready to like help people and Discord, and then we just have a private chat and that we just kind of it's not video, but we do audio chat through it, and we just kind of keep talking. It just makes things so much more simpler. We can explain things to each other. You can quickly share your screen to just like share ideas or problems or bugs. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, and then there's plenty of times where we literally might not even talk to each other for hours. We'll just two of us be working. But it's just the idea of like being there with each other. So even if you aren't talking and you just need to be like, hey Zach, can you have a look at this for me for a second? The two years are there. I mean, the other day, the two of us weren't talking for so long that I literally just like ended the
He,
call.
he just
And Zach was
left.
like, bye then.
Okay,
And I was like, oh, are you still there? So that's happened a couple of times. But yeah, no,
yeah.
we just call it our buddy call and do a call.
So how often are you managing support in Discord? Like how much of your day is spent communicating with customers in support?
Not as much lately. So when we first started it was quite a lot. Like the Discord channel grew exponentially and we were constantly just answering questions to the point where we ended up having to set up specific channels for specific products. And then we had to get a bot on the Discord to sort of like auto reply to people and make sure they were talking in the right channels, or, you know, if someone needed support, they weren't asking in the promo channel or the show is your work channel. What's that called? What do we call that?
Yeah,
Showcase.
I
The
forget.
showcase
Showcase. Oh,
channel.
okay. Yeah.
Um, so then we had the bot, and then we got people who were constantly there, like constantly advocates in the Discord to sort of start helping, like not actively like saying to them like you have to help, but like they would start, because they'd been using the product for so long, they'd start like naturally helping other people that were asking questions that were from like more of a newbie level or something like that. Today, the Discord to some degree kind of runs itself. Like we've got a couple of automations in there. People need to raise tickets, they can just do it through a bug support channel in there. And people join the channel as like an onboarding process, so people can find out like what products they want to know about. If they need support with specific products, they'll be added to certain channels. And then the rest of it is through probably the Superhive platform. Like that's, I'd say now these days, I answer more support questions through the Superhive platform than I do on Discord, whereas maybe a year and a half ago, it would have been the other way around.
Interesting. I wonder why that is. Do you have any thoughts on how it moved itself back onto the Superhive platform?
It's quite possible that most people in the Discord now have been there long enough that they don't necessarily contact for support. Like a lot of our messages now are just like, look at my work, or does anyone have any advice for something else, maybe entirely? And then the genuine support questions come through Superhive, maybe because they don't know about the Discord. The other thing is, I think in the last couple of years, Discord has made it a little bit harder for people to have accounts. And specifically with our server, because it's a community based one, we have to have certain checks in place to make sure that, you know, the account is actually active. There's an email tied to the account. They have 2FA on there, because we have audience members from anywhere from the ages of like 14, 15, who are just kids in school who are learning like we were, all the way up through to adults. So we need to make sure that there are safety checks that are on there. So if someone posts a message that they shouldn't, that'll automatically get deleted, or it'll get put into like a ban queue where we can check it and see what it was. So maybe it's a little bit tougher for people to actually get on Discord and use it for that if they don't have, or they don't want to share their information. But yeah, I think that's maybe it. It could also be sales and stuff have slowed down a little bit. So maybe less people are being aware of the products and then the product support channels. Because we get people asking us like where our documentation is. And there's like, we have thousands of links to our documentation everywhere. We have it in our products. We have it on the product pages. We have it in other products. So maybe people just don't know how to find the Discord. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. You do have a new product, which is True Vault,
Yes.
which is very interesting. I know I was talking with Jonathan about it the other day, and he said it's always interesting to see how people use Superhive in ways that we never anticipated. And
I think
it
you're
worked
being a bit polite there. He probably said, it's interesting how these two guys keep breaking stuff and getting around.
too.
Yeah.
We had all these plans, but now Richard and Zach are doing something off the wall. So we have to figure out how our plans are going to work with what in the world they're doing.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds more about right.
yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about True Vault and what it is and how it works?
Yeah, we can do. We can do. So TrueVol happened because, well, TrueVol happened for two reasons, wasn't it, really, Zach? We did it because our products became quite large. So True Terrain, for example, is a fairly big product. So the add-on itself is maybe only like 50 megabytes or something. You install that as a normal zip like you would anything else. But then the support and content for that, so like the materials, the trees, the rocks, the height maps, whatever it is, they are obviously as big as or as small as they can be. So we have to upload them as packs. And 4 years, we had the pack system for 4 years. It was like True Terrain 3 point something that we introduced packs.
Yeah, I think maybe it was 4. We always had a way you had to like kind of put them in there a special way. I think it was
Yeah.
4 that introduced the install pack or
Okay.
install something button. Yeah.
Yeah. So for at least 3 years, we've had this pack system that we've been working on. For whatever reason, and I'm not blaming anyone for this. No one can ever install stuff correctly. We built it a certain way, and then that didn't work. We got loads of feedback. We changed it, and then people still didn't do it. And then we got feedback and changed it again, and people still have trouble. And I think more than anything, it's not about like user error or stupidity or terrible design. It's just that like Blender's design language doesn't inherently have this function. So it's maybe not an intuitive system in the sense that people use Blender aren't expecting this to be a thing. So when people install packs or they do it wrong, the add-on doesn't work like it should. And that's a lot of our support requests are quite literally, I've installed content, but it's not showing up. What have I done wrong? So we guide people through that. The point of TrueVault was to be people no longer ever have to install content because True Terrain will install it itself. So the goal with it was you download the add-on, you import your purchase code or whatever it is, like your order number, and then you never have to download a zip for a pack. You will just be greeted with the assets that are available in the tier that you bought, and you can either download them all or you can download them as and when you need them. And it will just be a seamless automated process. Like you don't even need to click download. You just say, I want this tree on this scatter system. And if it's not downloaded, then it will automatically download and then place it. If it is downloaded, it'll place it. It'll just be seamless. So that was the original goal for TrueVault, was to fix the inherent unintuitiveness of our system, which sounds like a convoluted way to fix a problem that we made, but we have to fix the problem that we made. And there's no way in Blender to do it. So this was what TrueVault was. And then it grew into okay, well, how do we deliver content in general? Because asset packs, like let's say Botanic, for example, or some of the bee production products like Is It Gardener and Forestation, and people want them. And we've dabbled with these before. We've done like our VDBs, we've done our Undergrowth, we've done our True Terrain legacy content. People want them, but not all of them. So if it's like a $50 product, people might only want half of the stuff in there. It's then you as the creator are putting an effort on the user to decide whether half of the content is worth the full price. So how do we allow users to pick what they want? It be no more expensive to them, but they have the freedom to purchase whatever they want without being tied to $50 pack. I can only use half. So that was the other part of it. Like, how do we deliver that experience? And so far, it seems to be doing okay. People like the idea of like, we will purchase some credits. So that's what we use. We use a credit-based system. They'll purchase some credits and then they can redeem those credits against any of the assets that they want. So right now it's 3D models, materials, and height maps. We are working on the VDBs and getting them in so people can purchase VDBs. And yeah, people seem to enjoy it. Like people are using the credits, they're downloading what they want. And the benefit of it is that they don't expire. So once you've purchased your credit pack, like if you go on the vault and you go, okay, I've spent maybe 1,000 credits and I've got 2,000 left. Well, you can just keep holding them until new assets appear that you want. You could just use them, or you can redeem them, hopefully, against add-ons, because that's another thing that we want people to be able to do is like redeem the credits against add-ons. So if they don't want to spend them on assets, they can do it that way. And so far, it's been positive feedback.
Nice. I didn't know that you could also redeem them against add-ons.
Right now,
Not
it's up
yet.
there. But
Okay.
that's the goal. We want people to be able to do that as the goal.
Fascinating. I love it. Speaking of, you brought up a few other products that are great on the market. And we do want to hear from you, Zach and Richard. What other products do you personally use that are not your products
Yeah.
when you're working in Blender? Like, what are some of your favorites that you, as obviously very intelligent people who I also want to say we have collaborated with both of you before on a couple of projects for Superhive. So we greatly trust and respect your work and have brought you on to help us in the past. So I think the audience would be really interested in knowing what products you would recommend to them.
I'll let Zach go first because he's got a couple and I don't have as many as Zach, but
Yeah. So some of mine are, unfortunately, anymore, it's time is money. And so I don't get as much time to work in Blender. Some of the stuff that I've done is more like if I like to build stuff, do some woodworking. And so I'll make usually procedural setups for my woodworking stuff. Higa's geometry nodes and Arundel's geometry nodes tool sets are both really useful, doing stuff that I'm not normally doing for true terrain. And they have just a bunch of different stuff in there, and they're really useful to especially get quick setups, or just like I don't know the math to set the tilt of a curve based upon the directional vector. I don't really, as great as ChatGPT is, it's still like I don't know exactly how to do this. And it's fantastic that they have like those tool sets out there. Some of the other ones that I'd used in the past, like when I was working on the medical stuff, we did a lot of UV unwrapping and armature stuff. And so UV Packmaster is fantastic. Honestly, it is the best way to make sure that your UVs are taking up the best space. And there's nothing else like it for Blender. And it is fast, and it uses every resource it can get its hands on, and would highly recommend it because it'll pack UVs inside of UVs. If there's a hole, like if you have a circle, it fits it together so well. And they've implemented every UV feature of Blender in there that you can. So you can do UDIMs, UDIMs, and everything. And honestly, every time they come out with a new version, I'm like, what more is there to do? Like, I feel like it's a finished product at this point, but they keep finding stuff to do. Also, another one, UV squares. I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is. It kind of depends upon your own workflow. I'm not sure how accurate it was for mine, but I just really wanted to use every pixel of every image I could because we were using it in Unity. And so I just wanted to use every pixel of the texture I could to get the highest resolution textures. And UV squares really helps ensure that when you get a wonky looking, you have like a square-ish looking thing, or grid, or even like cylinder based thing, like muscles and bones are basically fancy cylinders. And so you want that as kind of relatively as straight as possible, because that especially helps with like baking things out or like aligning up stuff even in the shader editor, like muscle fibers. You kind of want that then to, you want it to be straight in the texture, but then it'll be like curvy based upon the structure of the muscle or bone. UV squares really just kind of perfectly gridifies everything in the way you want it to. I even tried to build my own, and I don't, they have some black magic in there, obviously, because mine never turned out the right way. I think, and then the last one, the ones I've actually used, I have some ones that I really want to use. I just don't have time to figure it out. But the last one I really want to use, that I really like using, is voxel heat diffuse skinning, which is a fancy way of weight painting based upon like voxels. Blender has its own ability to, assign bones via, I forget kind of some of its methods, but the voxel heat diffuse skinning is fantastic. And I haven't used it for, 4 years now. And it was fantastic when I used it. Again, I don't know what even more there was to improve on, but they keep releasing new versions, it seems. So it was fantastic 4 years ago. I'm sure it is God tier at this point for just this, because all you had to do was put your armature roughly where you wanted to. And based upon where it is in that and how close it was, it would assign your mesh appropriately. And it worked every time. It was, again, black magic. It was fantastic. It was really impressive. And it sped things up tremendously. So
yeah,
those are the ones that I personally have used.
Yeah, they are good
really
products.
useful.
I think for me, so in the last, when did they release this? Maybe 18 months ago. So in the last 18 months, my go-to product that we've never even looked at, and it's not even something that I've ever considered to make or develop because I never saw this as a particular roadblock or problem that needed to be solved, but it's very clear that this product does that, is LensSim. LensSim is by far the best add-on I have used in the last 18 months because it makes, so we use it specifically to do our product renders. And even outside of all of the post-processing I've done in the past, LensSim provides a much more realistic result for my renders than I could ever do in post-processing. And it is a problem that Blender needed fixing. And I only realized it after using it. I was like, oh yeah, the cameras are kind of crap. Like, and this person's made real cameras inside of Blender. This is the other amazing thing about it, is it doesn't, the way it works is such a backward way of making something that shouldn't be used the way it is. So they're using portals to simulate the way light comes in to a camera, which is not how portals were implemented in Blender. And to do that is just like, you have to have such a spectacular brain to be like, this thing isn't what it needs to be. I'm going to make it into something that it should be. And it honestly produces the best results I've ever captured in Blender. In like the 10 years I've been using it, I have never been able to get a render look photoreal like you can. It's just plug and play. It's so good at what it does. It does one thing and it does it perfectly. And that's exactly what a product should be. It should just do one thing really, really well. And then
That's
on top of that,
the
go on.
single most successful product that has hit Superhive in the past year or so. When that one went live, it just
It's a
took.
banger. Like there's no surprise there at all. I would not be surprised if the creator is sat on a beach, retired, because that product it is definitely the best product that's been released at least in the last 12 months. It is so good at what it does. Yeah. And then there are obviously other products like that. So like Flip Fluids, for example, an amazing product. It fixes a problem that Blender have been trying to solve for years. I mean, with their old fluid system in, was it like 2.8 that they dropped it and moved over to the MantaFlow system?
Oh yeah, it's
or
been a
whatever it
while.
was.
Yeah.
And even with that upgrade that Blender did, it doesn't do what it really could have been. And Flip Fluids has solved that problem so well that it should be the go-to product for anyone who's using fluid simulations. Don't use Blender's internal, don't use anything else. If you are using Blender and you have the change, purchase that product if you're using fluid sims, because it will do what you need it to do every single time.
And I did just get to see Ryan and Dennis, who create Flip Fluids,
Yeah.
in Amsterdam just recently, and they're just great human beings too. So maybe I'll try to get them on this show as well. See what.
Yeah, definitely. If you can, get them on.
That'd be super interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they'd have a lot to say about like how they built that product, because it's magic. It's like, I don't know what they're doing. I know they're using the flip method, but whatever they're doing to make it work in Blender is spectacular.
What question would you ask them so I know what to ask?
What question would I ask them? Oh goodness me.
How?
Yeah.
How?
When?
Yeah. I think that's it. Like,
How? Yeah.
how are they doing it to the degree that they're doing it where it's still fast enough to previs and powerful enough to get offensively good looking results? Like, it shouldn't be as fast as it is in the viewport, but they've somehow done that. Yeah, it's amazing. The Grove 3D is another product that's like that. It's a tree simulation software add-on. And previously they were doing it really, really fast. And then with their latest update, I think they moved to like a C+ redist file that you have to install. So you install the engine. They're doing stuff in Blender that shouldn't be that fast. Like, Blender shouldn't be that fast.
Yeah. We
And
got
it's
to spend
impressive.
some time speaking to the creator of the Grove too when we were in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
Also really
that is
great.
an impressive
Not yet
product.
on Superhive, but we'll get him over there.
It's
But
a
he's
heck
doing
of a
really well
product.
on his own. So kudos to him for that, because he does have a great product for sure.
Again, that's it. It's a great product, and it's like, it does one thing and it does it so well that that is probably the only piece of sage advice that I could ever give an aspiring creator, is like, when you make a product, don't muddy the water with things that especially feedback from like external noise. Don't put things into your product that other people think will be cool. Make the product what it should be and make it do the thing it should do really, really well. And you will have a good product. If people ask for feedback and they're like, oh, your terrain generator is really cool, can you make planets with it? It's like, no, that's a different tool. Like, we're not going to make planet generation because like that deserves to be its own tool. There's no point in slapping it on the current terrain system because the two of them are different. Like, you can't make spheres the same as you can with grid systems. So to do something like that makes the two of them not as good as they could be. So like, that's the only advice that I could really give to someone is just make a product, stick to the idea that you want. Don't muddy the waters and then just make it do what it's supposed to do really, really well.
Zach, what one piece of advice would you give to aspiring creators?
Don't work with Richard.
No, yeah, find someone who's going to pay you more than $20. No, yeah, I would say start with fixing what you already see as an issue in Blender. If there's already, especially if you like, man, there's a lot of terrain. People really like terrain, or people really like nature assets because there's a lot of add-ons out there. There's a lot of things out there. Might be it might be oversaturated and you will be lost. Find that thing like LensSim, found something that really wasn't covered. I think it's so crazy that Auto Rig Pro is like the only armature thing of its own. And it's something that the guy really understands, and he understands all the issues. So if you're a creator, find those things. That's how you have a breakout product. That's how you have a banger. That's how you solving an issue that people actually have. Like with True Assets, the desire of True Assets, which is another product of ours, was basically just to fill the space because we knew Blender was going to fix a lot of these things that people were having frustrations with, and we were having frustrations with. But until then, we were solving an issue that we saw, like automatic importing from existing blend files into your asset browser system library. Yeah, there's so many different words. And so it's just finding like, what are you frustrated with about Blender? Okay, great, go find it. Are you not frustrated with anything? You might not be able to make a product then that is going to be anything more than a tag along. Unfortunately, we've had that conversation multiple times. Like, are we just making a tag along product at this point? Do we even need to do that? We have some unreleased things that we're still deciding about. Like, is this a tag along, or is this actually useful? Or yeah, so that's always kind of the important thing: is find what find what the frustrations are, and fix them yourself, and then release.
Yeah, and then to add to that, what I would say is don't make a problem and fix it because that's a problem only you have. Like, you need to use Blender enough, and it doesn't matter what you use it for. If you're doing like previs, if you're doing environments, if you're doing lighting, if you're doing product renders, whatever your workflow is, wherever you find a pain point in that workflow, that's a problem. If you give yourself a pain point or you make a problem, that's not a problem. That's you doing something wrong. And that is not something you can fix with a product. That is just something you need to fix with the way you do things. Because there are plenty of products that will release and it's fixing a problem that nobody's had and it never does anything. Like, people don't buy it, people don't purchase it because they're like, what is this
something
doing? Yeah. So if you find a pain point, and this is the best way to do it, is find a pain point, find the thing that takes time that shouldn't take time or can be optimized or can be sped up. If your product rendering pipeline is 20 minutes putting a product in, 10 minutes lighting, 50 minutes compositing, the compositing's the pain point. Like, how can you optimize the pain point there? What is it that's causing that 50 minutes? Okay, can you shave 30 minutes out by doing XYZ? If you can shave 30 minutes out by doing XYZ, that's maybe a product. Yeah, so like, fix problems, don't make problems to fix.
I would also say having that open dialogue. Like, I'm not saying you have to use Discord, and this is more beneficial for those who are working full time. I know most people are probably working part time or just in their spare time, which is having part time. So this may not necessarily work for them. But if you are able to be on a chat app or have a chat app open on a regular basis, having that immediate response time, I really diffuses even just many situations. While we still obviously get some bad reviews, I think we have removed so many times where people were so frustrated they would have left a bad review just because, one, we were super fast, super helpful, super apologetic. We worked with them. We tried to get that, like, we asked for like files, like we really tried to work with them. And yeah, there's going to be annoying people. We're all annoying at some point ourselves, let alone annoyed by other people. It is so beneficial, I think, to have that just there ready to go at a moment's notice, ready to help them as soon as possible. So many people are always surprised that we respond within a couple seconds just because we have Discord open on a regular basis.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah, a lot of what people are purchasing when they purchase a product from Superhive is not so much the product as it is the access to the creator of the product for exactly that. Right? When they run into an issue or a roadblock or can't figure out what they did wrong, why I got all these assets, where are they? um, that they have that access to be able to get that support and the continued work that goes into improving those products over time, which is
yeah.
important.
Agreed. And I think something that a lot of people need to take on board is creators specifically is that like if a customer comes to you with a problem, it's not them telling you your product is bad. So don't let arrogance or pride get in the way. Don't be defensive or reactive towards this because some people will come to you. And this is the other thing that we need to realize as creators, like they don't know what the problem is. Like they can't just look at something and go, oh, this is the problem, I'm going to fix it. They're coming to you with the problem. So to them, they are just shouting into the void, hoping someone will respond. And maybe sometimes that comes across as an ignorant person or an arrogant person. But you have to remember this person is ignorant. Like they don't know the problem. They don't know your product like you know your product. So how can they know how to address the problem? Don't be so reactive. Just kind of like, it is what it is. Like if someone kicks off, then they're kicking off for a reason. And like try and diffuse the situation, speak to the person. Because 9 times out of 10, you'll end that conversation. If you've been non-reactive to it, you'll end that conversation with a new advocate for your product.
I think we've had some of the strongest advocates come out of because we were apologetic, because we were like, let's try to get this to work. I think we've gained quite a few people who were, came in angry and left very thankful and appreciative
Yeah.
because of that. We may be cursing in the background and using ChatGPT to reach our responses
Messages.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
yeah.
we use
Classic. Hey, ChatGPT, can you make this less aggressive, please?
comes back with like 2 words out of the sentence.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've been there. But yeah, no, I think that's it. I think as a creator, you need to understand sometimes that like the person using your product is stupid to your product. Like they're buying it to fix something. Like they don't need to know what your product can do or how it works under the hood. So don't be so arrogant towards these people who are ignorant to that.
I know we keep saying one more thing, but I do also think new creators need to value what they've created. Just because you've worked on it part time, or even it's like, because I was building some stuff that was like, I was actually using company time. So I was getting paid for it. And then I did sell a couple products on Superhive. They're gone now because I'm not benefiting them. But well, I took it and morphed it into a more public add-on. It was my own personal workflows and stuff like that I then try to sell. But just because you necessarily feel like you can at this point offer lifetime upgrades, because this is a normal thing, especially on Superhive. So that concept of Blender is, because Blender is free, a lot of other stuff should be free, but your work is valuable, and lifetime upgrades is great when you have a job that's paying you to do this. But if you ever want this to be more, that promise of a lifetime upgrade, well, great. It's not to help you.
Yeah, it's not sustainable sometimes.
And unfortunately, it communicates a larger issue to the community, and it causes issues later on down the road if people do want to start paying for these things. Do what you want. Let's be clear. Obviously, I'm not telling you what to do, but don't be afraid to not offer lifetime updates. Your work is valuable. You should be paid for the work, the time you spend on it. It's not greedy to ask people for $5 again. It is asking people to say that, yeah, this is worth it. I use this product. Blender made breaking changes, and this guy had to spend, or gal, obviously, had to spend 4, 5, 8, 20 hours on this upgrade in order to fix this, or 5 minutes, whatever it is, And so I want to support them. I want to show them that they're valuable. You are valuable. Your work is valuable. And there's nothing wrong with expecting just a plumber comes and does work. They spent their time on something, even if they didn't end up fixing it. There's usually they have kids to feed, and so do you. Maybe not the case, but you deserve money. You deserve you spent time on something. You deserve wages for your work.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's maybe a misunderstanding of how Blender works more than anything. Like, because
They're
99%,
paid.
and this is probably too low. This might even be too high. Like, but 99% of users who use Blender, it's free to them, and it will always be free to them. But Blender is not free. Blender is paid for by other parts of the community that ensure that Blender's development can continue so that you can get it for free. And that might be like a misconception for creators thinking, well, if Blender's free, then it's rude for me to keep charging for my work. You have to remember that Blender, while it is free, everyone who works at the Blender Foundation is paid in some degree for the work that they do by donors, whether it's like the likes of Nvidia or Apple or Epic or Joe Schmo from down the road who donates like $5 a month. Like, there are people paying for Blender. You just get to get it for free.
Also, we should be supporting Blender without a doubt, right? We as the community, we ought to be trying to support Blender. They deserve money. They deserve to be paid for their work as well. If you're a creator, definitely do what you can, depending upon your situation, to support Blender. If you're a non-Superhive creator and you're just using Blender and you are able to, $5 a month doesn't actually end up saving much, but there's millions of users. I mean, that's easily $5 million a year, right? I'm using US currency, whatever it is makes sense for you all. But Blender also, they should be paid. Yeah, Tom Rosendahl had that amazing, crazy, can't believe it worked idea that it should be open source and free and anyone should do it. And companies, it's such a bonkers thing and it works, but that companies are actually the one that support it so that the users get to be, what a crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's fantastic that it works. I don't know if it's yet an accepted model for everybody, right? No companies are coming to us to support us, and no companies are usually going to any other creators to support them for their work and letting their add-ons be free. So we should also
Yeah.
support Blender.
And more than anything, that's probably a fact to do with it's just scale more than anything. So like Blender has literally millions of users. So even if it's only 2% of them, that works at a scale. Like if it's just your average Joe creator who's only getting maybe like 1,000 sales a year, like 2% of that, you can't rationally give that product away for free for 20 people to donate to. Like that doesn't make sense. So don't misconstrue the two as a creator. Don't think, oh, I have to give this away for free because Blender's doing it, because you don't. You don't. But you also don't think that you need to do it as donations, because that will definitely not support you unless you've got millions of users a year donating to you.
That's a great point. Blender did that large push last year for join the 2%, for those donations. And so I think 2% is pretty accurate according to their own calculations. And you're right, it is millions and millions of users. And I appreciate that Ton specifically has been more vocal about this recently. I don't know if I think you saw that podcast.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because the host started to go down exactly this road and say, you started this trend where Blender is free. So now all the add-ons are being given away for free and the tutorials are being created for free. And he actually stopped him and said, no, it's free to access so that people can make a sustainable living using it. It's not meant for all of those other things to be free. And he specifically said, mentioned Blender Market, which is now Superhive, as the Blender Foundation steps away and does not have their own marketplace to make room for Superhive to build and maintain that marketplace. And it was very interesting to see that the host of the podcast had started saying everything should be free. And then Tan even turned it around on him and said, we don't monetize our YouTube because the algorithm would choose it before it chooses your channel. So you are monetizing your YouTube as you should. And by Blender not monetizing theirs, it makes more space for creators to then earn money using Blender. And it was in their annual report as well. There was a quote about it that I would have to find. Maybe I can stick it up here. But yeah, he's definitely doing more this year than I've seen in the past to promote the creators and the creatives who are doing the work that is valuable. And
Yeah,
that
I
is
think
Blender can do, really.
I think that's because Ton understands that it is a symbiotic relationship. Like, we wouldn't be here without Blender. Blender wouldn't be where it is without the community. So, like, if there weren't people making pain points in Blender disappear, then less people would use Blender for those specific pain points. If there weren't tutorials and courses on how to do things, like, less people would be using Blender for that, whatever that workflow is. So there's an understanding that it is a symbiotic relationship. And I think Ton gets that, the foundation gets that. Sometimes creators maybe feel it's a little bit different. And I can understand the pain points behind that sometimes with creators too, because, you know, there are issues there with how creators make their work and sometimes see it getting taken. But the relationship between the foundation and creators / community has to be symbiotic for it to work, because without that symbiotic relationship, there is neither.
Yep. Agree. Do you have any other closing thoughts? Anything you want to share before we sign off for this one?
Anything we want to share? Is there anything we want to share, Zach? I mean, there's stuff that we've been working on. Like, we've got some nice, cool stuff that we've been working on, like a new sky model, which has been a pain to do, but it's working now. What else have we? Anything else we could share? Any sage advice? I think I'm all
Support.
saged out.
Yeah, you're sage down. I
Yeah.
was going to just say, just make, if you have the means to support creators, a lot of creators I've been seeing on X are reporting that this year has been really hard. The market, for whatever reason, just as general across all categories, seems to have gone down. And I think we all feel it. But if you have the means to support, and you have someone you really like and really appreciate, whether it's a YouTube creator, an add-on creator, or whatever, I mean, I'm sure Blender see and feel it themselves. Reach out and support them. Help them out, especially if you want your favorite add-on to continue having updates. Otherwise, it might not have any more updates.
Yeah.
They might have to find a big boy job, and
Yeah, we
might not have it anymore.
We have a new
Blender
sky
5.0
model
is coming out, and a lot of things break in Blender and the major version upgrade. So if you want your add-on to work in Blender 5.0, you might want to see if they have a Patreon or something extra that you can give them some money on.
Yeah. We've got a new sky model in progress, but it might never see the light of day.
Yeah, what to see?
The irony.
Yeah.
I know.
I have 3
send you
kids.
some
He has one
footage
on the
so that you
way.
can, we'll send you some footage so that you can like overlay it on the screen or something like that, and tease people who may never see it.
Yeah.
Please do. Zach, did you just say you have 3 kids now?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I do. I have 2 sons, and I have a little baby girl. She's 1.5 in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, November.
And
Oh, dude,
Richard?
that's like, I've got one on
Yeah.
the way. Yeah,
Yep.
I got a El Bambino, El Mini Richard, a little baby boy who's due in January. So
January.
that should be fun.
Wow. Congratulations, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep up the good work. And yeah, appreciate you joining me for this series.
I love to talk about myself.
You did great.
Do we do dabs, or what do we do now to sign off? Like, what is the 2025 way of saying goodbye?
Is it
Give
this?
me Riz.
Is it this?
All right. Well, see ya.
See you later.